Fooled you, didn't I? Y'all thought I was gonna play some hip hop, rap music, bang bang, shoot 'em up, huh? Nah. Current Mood by Gregory David. I'm gonna let this play a little bit more. You guys tell me what you think about it. Love this song. Oh, I love it. Just a little bit more. Let y'all listen to this. Welcome to another episode of Anger Management Productions, the Sasha D. Robinson Sports Talk Show. I am your host, Sasha D. Robinson. How are y'all doing out there in podcast land? Oh man, this is great. Like I said, this is Gregory David. That was just my intro music, Gregory David, Current Mood. It's amazing what you'll find on YouTube. You know, there are a lot of hidden gems out there. Sometimes when I'm at work, I know that they have like a whole bunch of little chill hop beats that I'll sit there and I'll listen to while I'm at work. A lot of hidden gems, but I think I found a new artist I like, Gregory David. Man, you have to check this out. This is just great music. But you know what? I'm just saying right now. I want to just again welcome you guys to another episode, and I want to give another shout out, and I want to give a little shout out. This will be on July the 14th. I want to say happy 71st, Mom. Happy birthday to you out there. You know, this is going to be 3 years since Mom has passed. And you know, I always say Mom's passing was bittersweet, and you know why I say that is because my mother's gone. You know, she's not able to see see how her children are doing. You know, mother of, she is mother of boys, raised us. Um, we always say this. There's six of us that about this. Um, and she's not able to see how we're doing now since her passing. But her passing has brought the whole family together, and that's why I say it's bittersweet because even she's gone and she's not able to see this, but we're all together. I've noticed that my aunts, they've done their best to take on the role of being mother figures to me and my brothers, to at least try to be there. I've noticed that and I've really appreciated that from jump. My uncles are doing a lot of things. Well, I'm gonna say uncles because Uncle Dennis, I haven't talked to him. I don't even think I talked to him during Mom's funeral, if I want to be honest. But me and his daughter, my cousin Helen, we're tight. We're tight, and she talks to me all the time, as well as my cousin Dana. But I'm over here digressing. But as I say, my Uncle Dwight, he's very he's always trying to stay in my son's life and just making sure that he's okay, he's taken care of, whatever he can do for him, and I really appreciate that. Um, it was just something, just knowing that my mom's 71st birthday and she still lives on through everyone. Me and my brothers were in our group chat text. We'll have little conversations and we'll probably say stuff. So, we'll have conversations, and mom will be in there. We'll crack jokes about each other. We'll talk about and have a good time and everything like that. That's why I say it's bittersweet. Because I can be honest with you, before mom passed, I usually wasn't involved in a lot of stuff. I just kept to myself. It was just me, nobody else. It was just me. I just wanted to stay by myself, live my life. Didn't want to do anything. But after that, I found out a lot funner. Being around brothers, just laughing and joking and whatnot. If I don't want to look at you, I don't want to look at you. But we'll come back. We'll talk. One of my older brothers, it seems like he was very, when I graduated from college, both times he's been very supportive of me. My brother William, let me back up. All my brothers have been supportive, but it was just that when William, who it looks like I thought that me and him, we were enemies, and I see that he's just always been in my corner. You never know about these things. People always find a way of showing their love and their support. And after mom's passing, that opens your eyes about things. So I want to just say happy 71st to you, Mom. We love you. Thank you for all that you've done. Your boys, we're all doing fine. We look forward to seeing a beautiful day and being able to celebrate the day with you, even though that you'll be here in spirit. But you have a funny way of being there for us. You have shown it, and thank you. So last week, me and a couple of my frat brothers, we talked about the NBA playoffs. And I'm just going to do a brief talk about it. I knew that the Suns were going to sweep the Bucks. There's no way in God's green earth the Suns were going to sweep the Bucks. When I'm hearing all these talks on ESPN and all this stuff, this is why I can't stand all these how can I say, these talking heads. When one thing happens, everybody jumps. They switch more than you switch your clothes. They switch. It's crazy because the first two games, the Bucks are the stupidest team that's ever made the finals. Oh, this and that, blah blah blah. And the same thing like I told my boy Titus. The Bucks are the Eastern Conference champions. I am not seeing the Bucks just going to sit there and let some team come into their house and at least and sweep them. They're going to get a game. All this talk about they're stupid and they're going to get swept and all this other stuff. And all of a sudden, Giannis, he went for over 40 and he did this. The Bucks have a chance. And as long as Chris Middleton this and that, they have a chance. They're probably going to be champions because the Suns look stupid. I'm like, shut up. This is why they're the 7-game series. This is why you play basketball. This is why I like it because, unlike football where this one game can probably be your worst game and another team can look good that day, you have to do this at least an average of, you got to at least do this a minimum of 4 times to put a team away. This is why I like the series format because again, that one time does not mean that you're the better team. You have to do it 4 times. So right now the Suns are up 2-1 and they play tomorrow. They play tomorrow up there in Milwaukee. And I'm going to tell you this right now. It's going to be a good game. It's going to be a living atmosphere. And I look forward to it. As a Phoenix Suns fan, am I kind of worried? Yeah, I'm worried. I'd be worried if they were up 3-0. Let's just be honest with you. I would be up if they were 3-0. I'm not saying nothing until the series is over, and then that's just it. So if you don't hear me talking about it, it's really because I'm not trying to jinx my favorite team. So let's just be for real here. This is just something where people just need to learn how to just shut up, quit flip flopping. ESPN. Oh, I hate ESPN. That's why I don't watch the shows. I mean, when everybody and people send me art, stuff from their shows, like from the Jump. Oh my god. Oh my god, I hate those shows. You know what? I'm gonna tell you the reason why. Like this wasn't even on the agenda, but outside of ESPN, it seemed like they cater to the stupid fans. And what I mean by the stupid fans, I'm not saying fans are stupid. I mean that you don't grasp the sports, just like the real sports enthusiasts who really follow the game. They kind of dumb it down so you can feel it, so you can feel like you understand it. So when you go and try to talk sports with somebody who actually has a know-how, that who really knows it, you think that you're the big shit because you hear ESPN talking, hear somebody on ESPN, and then you try to talk something, and then somebody else shoots down all these other facts at you, and then you're like, oh my god. That's why I don't like ESPN. That's the main reason. But another reason why I can't watch ESPN and a lot of these guys don't do it is because of a person nobody ever talks about. And that's Mike Greenberg. I can't stand Mike Greenberg. At first I had no problem with them, but I believe it was in 2010. On Martin Luther King's birthday, he was on the air. He was on the air when he was on Mike and Mike with Mike Golick, and they were welcoming him back. And this is on YouTube, so I'm not making this up. This is on YouTube, and nobody's ever called him out. And he welcomed everybody back to his show. He said, "Welcome back to Mike and Mike in the morning on this Martin Luther King Day, on this Martin Luther King Day." So I remember watching that. I remember watching that episode that went over my head because me and Jabri that day we were supposed to go to the march, and I was waiting for Jib, and I was waiting around for Jib, and I remember watching it, but it went over my head, and then somebody else said something about it later on when I got home and I started paying attention a lot more. And then they said, yeah, Greenberg said Martin Luther King. So when I sat there and I paid attention to it and I watched it again and I'm just like, wow, really? So I stopped watching Mike and Mike in the morning. And what drives me freaking bananas is how Stephen A. Smith and all these other guys out there let's go with Stephen A. Smith. As a black man, Stephen A. Smith can sit there and talk with this joker and make it seem like everything's just cool. If you look at The Jump and all these other shows, he sits there and he entertains them, especially when he goes on his rants about the Knicks. If you look at that, and it seems like whenever there's something about the Knicks, they bring Greeny definitely brings it on. That chump, he brings Stephen A. on just to laugh. I think that they laughing at him instead of with him. And I'm sitting here looking at these guys like, really? A lot of you guys claim that y'all pro-black, pro-black, pro-black. But when this joker said Martin Luther King and y'all aren't saying anything about it? Really? Because he gave a half-hearted apology. I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. There's no disrespect. No. I'm sorry. The way how I always see it is this. If it's on your mind, you must have really been thinking about it at that time. I've said a lot of stuff when I'm talking to people and something was on my mind and it blurted out and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I said it. So no, I don't believe not one word iota about Greeny. And there would be no way, if I were to meet him right now, just like, if I was to meet him right now, there would be no way that it would be pleasantries or anything like that. And I just wonder why those jokers up there in Bristol, just make it seem like he's just, like he's just cool and everybody wants to talk to him. Why? Because he's one of the higher ups up there. I believe he is like one of those, he's one of those executive producers or something like that. I believe so. Do I care? No. So that's another reason why, and I know I know I'm all over the place with my rant, but I just don't like ESPN. ESPN used to be my show. You have to understand. And me and Titus, again, I'm going back to my boy Titus. We were talking about it because Titus was, Titus was telling me that he was watching sports since he was 3 or 4 years old. I didn't start really paying attention to sports till, I started watching football religiously in 1991. That was when I found the NFL Primetime, and I started watching that religiously. But when I started watching ESPN was in 1995. I remember my first episode I really started watching was the same episode when it was with Keith Olbermann and Dan Patrick, and they were talking about, and one of the clips was when UConn played Villanova and Ray Allen was cooking Kerry Kittles. And I remember I was watching that because this was around the time when SportsCenter was coming on from 5 in the morning till about 11. And I didn't go to school that day, and I kept the TV on all day watching ESPN, watching SportsCenter. Because you know why? They were talking about sports. They were talking about the games. They weren't talking about the highlights. They were talking about the highlights. They weren't talking about the main players. They weren't just showing them. You didn't have talking heads breaking down a game. You didn't have them just giving their stupid opinion. They were just talking about the games where you could be able to catch up, where you could be able to look at what's going on in today's game. They weren't trying to say, "Oh, well, this team started off 0-1. How many teams have started 0-1 and made the playoffs or a Super Bowl championship?" They weren't trying to make stats up. They were just talking about the sports and trying to anticipate and all this other stuff. When I got off to college, that's when, my frat brothers, Mike, Puff, Q, we would talk sports all the time. We would we would talk sports. It was just one of those things. We were religiously on ESPN. ESPN again was talking sports. They weren't talking about the big name players. When you put on NFL Primetime, they weren't talking about Tom Brady and jerking him off. And this was in 2001. 2001, I remember when, after that, I wasn't at ASU Angelo State from 99 to 2002. So they weren't sitting there talking about the greatest show on turf and saying they're the greatest offense in the world. They didn't break it down. They weren't talking about Kurt Warner because Kurt Warner was the biggest shit in the toilet at the time. And Marshall Faulk basically showed that he's the ultimate weapon. I'm going to be talking about Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt in a moment. They weren't breaking them down. They didn't talk about all these. They didn't just centralize a player and make it seem like it's him and the rest of the scrubs. That's what I loved about sports. And that's another reason why I hate ESPN. So it's Greenberg and his old racist ass. Yeah, and I'll say that because no matter what he says or whatever, and all this other stuff, he said Martin Luther King, and nobody's ever said anything. And yeah, I don't like to point the fingers at, oh, you're racist. But he was on live TV, said it, and nobody wants to call him out on it. Especially the black man, Stephen A. Smith. that the finals is going to be great. I really think it's going to go six, and everybody's going to enjoy it. I know that a lot of people are going to say, "Well, these are two small market teams." Who cares what markets they are? They're in NBA teams. You got probably arguably one of the greatest point guards in the game. Well, I'm not going to say he's greater than Magic, Isaiah, or John Stockton, but Chris Paul is up there. People got to give him his respect. Giannis looks like Giannis looks like he's about to come into his own. You got Devin Booker, Chris Middleton. You got all these guys out there. DeAndre Ayton, who I don't like, but again, he's out there. This is if you don't watch the finals just because there's LeBron's not on there, Kevin Durant, then you know what? Shut up. I don't ever want to hear about it. So back to the main thing, and this is an article something that came out on CBS. I saw on CBS Sports, and I posed a question because when I saw this, I was just wondering. I'm like, wow, is this true? So on CBS Sports, Isaac Bruce says that Isaac Bruce, he's the wide receiver for the St. Louis. He was the wide receiver for the St. Louis Rams. He played with the Rams for I want to say from 1995 to 2008. But he said that him and Torrey Holt. Torrey Holt is another wide receiver who played with the Rams from 1999 to, was it 2011? I want to say that. They're better than Minnesota Vikings, Randy Moss, and Cris Carter. Now in the article, the one thing that he said, he was quoted by saying that it may seem like a whole lot of arrogance to others, but numbers don't lie. Everything that the Rams put on the football field, and the film, it is what it is. You can always go back and turn it on. But there's one thing that he said that separated those two, Holt and Bruce, from Carter and Moss, is we won a Super Bowl. Yeah, let's go ahead and throw the ring out there. And so I posed this question with a lot of people, and I was asking, do you agree? Do you agree that Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt are better than Randy Moss and Cris Carter? And this is a real hard one because they got a Super Bowl. And that can be and everybody can usually. And sometimes I'm gonna be honest with you. Sometimes, to me, when you throw in the "I got a Super Bowl," kind of reminds me of that episode of King of the Hill when that one I cannot remember his name, but I'll put it up there. But there's this one football player that moved into the neighborhood, and he was a former Cowboy. And he blocked the kick, and everybody was in awe. Oh, you're a Super Bowl champion, and he's flaunting his ring and all this other stuff. But only thing he did was block a kick, and everybody just marveled about this guy, and he brags about it. And he still lives in that moment, and I'm just wondering, okay, what else did you do? Okay, you have a Super Bowl championship. Is there anything else? Now, those two numbers, and I'm going to pull this up, and I'm going to tell you this right now. This is kind of hard because, again, Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt, they were probably one of the ultimate 1-2 combination, and then Randy Moss and Cris Carter, They were a great combination also. Their problem was that they just didn't know when to shut the F up. And they were too busy, pushing around any quarterback that they had, trying to get the ball. And sometimes I think that they really stepped on their own foot. If you looked at many highlights and many videos, you see Cris Carter and Randy Moss getting in either Randall Cunningham, Jeff George's, Dante Culpepper's ear. Throw me the ball. I'm open. Give me the ball. Give me the ball. And they're mad and all this other stuff. Nobody could ever control them. And Cris Carter, out of all people, should know when to shut up and should know when to tell Randy, hey, be quiet. We're trying to win a Super Bowl. Quit trying to demand the ball and let's just try to go out there and win a game. Bruce and Holt, I've never really heard about any turmoil about them on the field about who wants the ball more and all this other stuff. They just went out there and they excelled. So I'm going to probably give it to Holt and Bruce. But this is what I'm going to do right now, and I'm going to pose this question to you also. So if anybody wants to talk about it, I'm going to put the article in the description box. So if you want to be able to discuss it also. But I have like about a handful of teams with their one of their greatest tandems. And I want you to tell me, and after that, if you have anyone that you say, no, what about this guy, or what about this team, or what about this duo right here, by all means, go ahead. Now, the thing is this, it's duos. It's not players it's not one player. So, unfortunately, one of my favorite players of all, Sterling Sharpe, is not on my list. Because Sterling didn't have that duo next to him. He could have, but he hurt his neck. Because Robert Brooks went off the next year, and you can say, well, probably Robert Brooks took off because Sterling Sharpe hurt his neck. We could give that argument, but you know something? We'll never know. Sterling could have probably played with Andre Rison because, again, when they went on that Super Bowl run, Andre Rison signed with Green Bay, but we'll never know this. We're not going to throw in quartets. So the Falcons run and shoot or the Oilers run and shoot offense isn't going to be included in this. So Andre Rison, Michael Haynes, Mike Pritchard, and other players, they're not going to be in this. The Houston Oilers run and shoot Haywood Jeffries, Ernest Gibbons, Curtis Duncan, Webster Slaughter, they're not in this. The posse is not going to be in this. The posse of the Washington Redskins wide receivers. That was made up of Ricky Sanders, Gary Clark, and Art Monk, who I think is another one of my other favorite receivers of all, Art Monk. They're not on this list also. Herman Moore, wide receiver for Detroit. Herman Moore, Brett Perriman, Johnny Morton. They're not on this list also because, again, at first I put Herman Moore and Brett Perriman on this list. But when you look at Brett Perriman's numbers, his numbers were not. Outside that 1995 season, he really didn't have a monster time in Detroit. So I didn't put him on this list. And I was real close to doing it. I put him out there, and I'm like, no. Another tandem I was about to put in there. What I was real close to putting on here was Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, but they're still currently playing because I'm putting this in there and I'm trying to say if you're a Hall of Famer or Super Bowl appearances, they were Super Bowl appearances and they're 1,000-yard receivers and they're Super Bowl champions. I wanted to put them on there, but I'm not putting them on there because they're both still active in the game right now. So unfortunately, they're not there. Another duo I fought with, I wanted to put in there with the Marx Brothers, but I didn't put them on there. The Marx Brothers are Mark Clayton and Mark Duper for the Miami Dolphins. I didn't put them on there as much as I wanted to, because again, They were like one of the best duos out there from in the '80s, from 1983 to 1992, and quarterback Dan Marino. So he set the world on fire with starting with those jokers. But I didn't put him on there. Why? I guess because, how can I say, I have I already have another duo out there who did make the who aren't Hall of Famers or Super Bowl appearances. I didn't want to have them both on there. I may be wrong for not putting them on there, but the Marx Brothers is one of the greatest duos out there. But if you agree with me, hey, that's cool. If you disagree with me, hey, I welcome the conversation. So let me go ahead and tell you the list that I have, and I want you and again, and then when this is read, you can tell me who you think is. Now, the first team, I have the Buffalo Bills with Andre Reed and James Lofton from 1989 to 1992 when they played together. They're both Hall of Famers, and together they have 3 Super Bowl appearances. Andre Reed, in that time frame, had 5,137 yards receiving and 36 touchdowns, while James Lofton had 2,736 yards receiving and 21 touchdowns. You have to realize that in that time, it was really a run-oriented offense. The Bills, this was a real run-oriented game, and the game was not as free as it is now. These guys had to fight to get the ball. It wasn't going to be like it is now. And again, if you watch the game, they were just very dominant. James Lofton was already a Hall of Famer going into Buffalo, and he helped take the world by storm in those years. So I'm putting them on the list, but I'm not going to say they're one of the greatest duos. But you definitely see, if you ever watch any of their games, you saw exactly how this looked. The deep ball from Jim Kelly to them, Andre Reed going across the middle, breaking tackles. These guys, those two were dynamite. What about Minnesota Vikings, Randy Moss and Cris Carter from 1998 to 2001? Both the Hall of Famers, no Super Bowl appearances. Randy Moss in those times that they played together had 5,396 yards receiving and 53 touchdowns. Cris Carter had 4,397 yards receiving and 40 touchdowns. Just back to what we're saying, this could probably arguably be one of the greatest duos of all time. The problem is that they were too busy playing for self instead of playing as a team. They were dynamic. They were outstanding. Cris Carter didn't have the wills, but he could run routes, and you throw the ball, put the ball in his radius. He's catching the ball one-handed, no-handed, sideline receptions. He was just outstanding. I liked watching Cris Carter play the game. And Randy Moss, come on, one of the greatest deep threats out there. I know, and again, I'm talking about my boy Titus. He sent me a video of Randy Moss when he was matched up against D'Angelo, oh man, I was going to say D'Angelo Russell. D'Angelo Hall, cornerback when he was playing for Atlanta. And it was a Monday night, and I think it was the first play of the game, Dante Culpepper did a play action, rolled out, and he hit Randy Moss on the burn. D'Angelo Hall is not slow. D'Angelo Hall also gave him a cushion. D'Angelo Hall played the cornerback, played everything right, but again, was that Randy Moss was a burner. He'll blow right past you. And he went right past him, and he caught that ball, walked right into the end zone. That's why I say that again, you can stop him going down the field. You can stop him. I know that people are going to have an argument and say, well, Deion Sanders probably can. Well, we'll never know about that. Because in the prime Deion Sanders, he could stop anybody. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind. Prime time could cover everybody. You saw what he did with his defensive MVP year when he was with the Niners. He shut down everybody. I'm prime. I shut down everybody. But Randy Moss, that's another monster. So we can put that right there. The only problem that I had with those guys was that they never, and it just really, I have to sit back and think about this. They have the numbers, they have the offense, they had everything for them. It's just that they were just stupid the way how they played, and somebody needed to learn how to tell them to shut up, and we got to play right. I think that they did this to themselves. And that Super Bowl that everybody wanted to watch between Denver and Minnesota in 1998, it was spoiled because people were too busy trying to get the ball. Now, here's one that I think a lot of people are going to probably be like, why are they on this list? Dallas Cowboys, Alvin Harper, Michael Irvin, 1991, 1994. One Hall of Famer, 3 Super Bowl appearances, and all 3 times they're champions. Alvin Harper, in his years with Dallas, playing alongside of the playmaker, was 2,486 yards receiving, 18 touchdowns. The playmaker had 5,490 yards and 28 touchdowns. Dallas was a run-oriented offense. Everything lived and died by the Great Wall of Dallas and Emmitt Smith. That's just it. They were a run-based offense. But when Troy Aikman put the ball in the air and he had those 2 jokers out there lined up, they were great. You had Alvin Harper out there who will take you deep. He'll take you deep in a heartbeat. And you have Michael Irvin out there he'll get you on some on the slot routes, the in routes, the out routes, and he'll go deep on you also. But when he's on, he's on. Two of my brothers, they wanted to argue about it. And I think I have a video with them. We did like who your top receivers that you had, your top 20 receivers, and they didn't like Michael Irvin because he smoked, he was snorting cocaine. Well, you know what? He's snorting cocaine. That man was sitting there on. So shoot, you give him those drug. Cocaine's a hell of a drug, ain't it? I mean, that's just it. So when he was on, it's on. It was the number. There's times when numbers can be misleading, and this is that time because again, the way how Dallas's offense was set up, they weren't putting the ball in the air 40 to 50 times. They put the ball up probably 25 times. And Troy Aikman wasn't taking pop shots down the field all game. There have been times, that he did, and there have been times when he didn't. Give me one moment. But one thing, the fact is that when you put the ball in the air, they were on. You've seen Alvin Harper. Show up in games. I still remember that Super Bowl when in 1993, and I want to say it was Super Bowl 27, when Troy Aikman hit him on a 40-yard pass. I mean, he hit him deep, and he hit him in stride. And then in the next playoffs, an NFC Championship game against the Niners, it was was it against? I believe it was against the Niners when he hit when Bernie. No, it wasn't against the Niners. No, I take that back. When Bernie Kosar hit Alvin Harper on that slant route, and then he took it to the house. It wasn't against the Niners. That game was clearly out of hand at that time. Oh, I hated that game. Oh my God, do you realize I'm sitting there watching that game and I'm watching the Niners just get ran over in that game? I'm digressing about that game because I'm having flashbacks. You know how Vietnam vets, sometimes they have flashbacks and they just sit there, they're like, ugh. Yeah, I'm having flashbacks about watching the Niners get ran over and destroyed by the Cowboys in that '93 NFC Championship game in Texas Stadium. Yeah. But anyway, so you guys tell me, do you guys agree with the Cowboys being, with Alvin Harper and Mike Irvin? Because I looked at it, I mean, I'm thinking about Dallas. Dallas didn't have another great tandem outside of them. You can't say don't say Terry Glenn and Keyshawn Johnson, and don't say Roy Williams and Terrell Owens. They didn't. Who? Mike Renfro and who else? No, we're not going there. This was their best tandem. Now here's another one that I had to look at hard, and it was the Green Bay Packers when it was Robert Brooks and Antonio Freeman. Zero Hall of Famers, but they have two Super Bowl appearances and one-time champions. Now Robert Brooks, he had 3,271 yards receiving and 27 touchdowns, and those times together with the Packers, teamed up with Antonio Freeman, and he had 3,706 receiving yards and 36 touchdowns. As I said, the Packers have had some nice receivers through their years. Sterling Sharp, like I said, Jordy Nelson, Greg Jennings, Donald Driver, Corey Bradford. But again, they never had a tandem. I mean, they never had a two-headed monster. These two were their two-headed monster at those times. I was looking at it because even when Jordy Nelson, when Jordy Nelson was teamed up with Greg Jennings didn't have his solid numbers. Donald Driver was on his way out the door. So it was like they didn't really have that. Jordy never had that guy. Corey, no, not Corey. Donald Driver and Greg Jennings didn't really mesh together also because, again, Donald Driver was on his way out the door. So these two together, they've had some solid numbers together. So I'm putting them up there, that they were a solid tandem because, again, if you looked at Painkiller Favre and them together, they look like they were out there just guys just playing sandlot football. I remember watching plenty of highlights and watching Robert Brooks just look like he just gets open with these. The same thing with Antonio Freeman, and it looked like they just made it look easy. They ran the West Coast offense to perfection thanks to Mike Holmgren, head coach at the time. So I can honestly say that. So I will. So I can honestly. So that's one thing. That's the reason why that they're up there. Now we're going to go with the St. Louis Rams, Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt from 1999 to 2007. Now there's only one that's in the Hall of Fame, and two Super Bowl appearances, one championship. Isaac Bruce in those years had teamed up with Torrey Holt at 9,446 yards receiving, 55 touchdowns. Torrey Holt had 11,864 yards receiving, 71 touchdowns. I can arguably say that they're probably one of the greatest twosomes out there to get twosomes. Because if you ever looked at the greatest show on turf, they definitely made it look easy. They also, and I've also always said this, they killed my 49er dynasty that I grew up with. They definitely buried them in that, and it was sad watching it. But when you saw how Isaac Bruce and then Torrey Holt, the way how they looked, and the way how they've just made everything look so great, the greatest show on turf. It's just something to see that they're only one-time champions. The way how you would thought that they played, you would think that they'd be up there that they would be up there for, be more than just one-time champion. But I know that there's a lot of things that happen, injuries, coaching, Mike March, and there's a whole. I know that there's a lot of stuff out there. So, but it's just something when you see these guys out there, you would think that the St. Louis Rams would have more. Now, you're talking to somebody who hates the Rams. The Rams are the number one team that I hate the most. But I have to respect the fact of of Isaac Bruce, Torrey Holt, and Marshall Faulk, and even Kurt Warner. Kurt Warner to me is probably up there with one of the greatest quarterbacks that I've ever watched. And people are going to say, "What? You're going to put him up there?" Yeah, he's probably one of my greatest, and I'll go down that list. I put it out there. I put that out there, and I'm standing by my list. But I like the way how these guys were. They were just phenomenal. These guys seem like that they gelled so good together. Not to mention with Daz Akeem, Tony Horn. Just everything just seems so. Just seems like it. Like, wow, these guys got to be great. Now let's look at this other one, the Denver Broncos. Rod Smith and Ed McCaffrey from 1995 to 2003. Now, Rod Smith had 8,628 yards receiving, 52 touchdowns. Ed McCaffrey had 6,200 yards receiving, 46 touchdowns. Zero Hall of Famers, but 2 Super Bowl appearances and two-time champions, back-to-back champions. Could you tell me any a better sleeper tandem out there? Duo out there? Can you tell me anybody else who you can honestly say that you would be scared to death? Another one out there. When again, the Denver Broncos were mainly a run-oriented offense. They're cranking out 1,000-yard receivers like anything. So when Terrell Davis went out, Orlando Scary, Mike Anderson, they had guys out there. But if you leave those guys alone, Ed McCaffrey, Easy Ed, Rod Smith, it was great, especially in that West Coast offense. Could that's just it. And the thing is that a lot of people don't ever talk about these two. No one. I remember Rod Smith, his rookie year, and when he was his rookie year, they were playing the Cowboys because down here they televised all Cowboy preseason games, and they were talking, oh yeah, the coaching staff loved Rod Smith, his playing time, all this, that, and this was when they were playing behind Anthony Miller. I want to say it was Mike Pritchard, Anthony Miller and Mike Pritchard, and both of them were wide receivers. And I remember how they were just marveling over Rod Smith. And Ed McCaffrey, and was around that time. He was a former Giant. And then he went to San Francisco, their Super Bowl year. And the thing is that he barely even played in San Francisco. Why would you? You had Jerry Rice and John Taylor, two of arguably the best, the greatest out there. And then when Ed McCaffrey, when he left that West Coast offense and went to Denver and you showed out, imagine Ed McCaffrey being in San Francisco. Oh my God, boom. Yes, I thought about that. I even wrote an article and just said, just think about this. The wide receiver that got away, and you see what he's doing in the same offense. Man, I wish that. I wish they would have had that. And I just love looking at the way how they played together. If you looked at this and you hear Shannon Sharp, tight end, former tight end, now a co-host of Undisputed, and he talks about Ed McCaffrey all the time and Rod Smith and the way how it is. These guys were just electric. You can even see highlights. If you go on YouTube and look at those highlights of them, oh my God. Now, Here's another one. Nobody ever talks about, and this is the reason why I didn't put the Marx Brothers up there, was because of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Jimmy Smith and Keenan McCardle, 1996 to 2001. No Hall of Famers, no Super Bowl appearances, but Keenan McCardle in those years has 6,393 yards receiving, 30 touchdowns. Jimmy Smith has 7,972 yards receiving and 41 touchdowns in those times that they played together. These guys were arguably probably one of the greatest, one of the best duos in the league around that time. When Keenan McCardle came from Cleveland to Jacksonville, and Jimmy Smith, when he finally decided to, when he left Dallas and he decided to say, I'm going to stop being injured, he started playing. He started getting over 1,000 yards. Keenan McCardle started showing everybody, I belong in this league. And those two just formed together, and they're like, we're taking over this. They helped put Jacksonville on the map. They were a Tennessee Titans away from making a Super Bowl appearance to play against the St. Louis Rams. These guys, those two were another guys that meshed together. If you look at I believe that they're the football life of Jimmy Smith, and I want to say and Keenan McCardle too, because I remember watching it, and I remember how I would just look at like, dang, these guys are just electric together. You definitely have to look at that. But their numbers. But again, this is Jacksonville was also another run-based offense in that year with Mark Brunell. Even though Mark Brunell, he could swing the rock with like nobody's business. But in the same breath, this was a run-based offense. Also, so you could just see in these years, this is what these guys did with an outstanding defense. Yeah, I really like Keenan McCardle and Jimmy Smith. They're probably another, a duo, a twosome out there. But I won't call them the greatest. But we can, you can debate it and say, oh, you like that. Another one. Arizona Cardinals, Larry Fitzgerald and Anquan Boldin, 2004 to 2009. No Hall of Famers, one-time Super Bowl appearance. Yeah, I know, because I didn't put Mike Evans and Chris Godwin on there because they're still playing. Larry Fitzgerald is already capped out. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. He just hasn't been inducted yet. Anquan Boldin, he may not be a first ballot, but he's getting in there. Anquan Boldin has really put himself out there. But those time together, they were scary good. Anquan Boldin came into the league as a rookie, electrifying everything out of Florida State. I remember coming out, I wanted the Niners to draft him so bad. I wanted him to get drafted so bad. So when he went to Arizona, I didn't want to see this man because he was cold. And when he went to Baltimore and then the Niners had to see him in that Super Bowl, he ate their secondary alive. I still have, and that's another nightmare that I'm having right now because I'm remembering on a 3rd and 10 when Joe Flacco in the Super Bowl, the Niners had a chance to get Baltimore off the field. And it was 3rd and 10. They're about to make a play. And Joe Flacco drops back, throws the ball. I think it was like a downfield, over the shoulder fade route over Chris Culliver, and Anquan just snatches it out there and gets the first down, moves the chains, and I'm just like, wow. The 49ers had a chance to come back. They were losing big and they were down. They had the momentum, and if they would have gotten off the field, I believe they would have scored. They would have scored and they would have took the lead. I really would believe that. But Anquan Boldin has always shown that he's just that guy. So, and then we already know about Larry Fitzgerald. Larry Fitzgerald is just basically unbelievable ever since coming out of Pittsburgh. And I remember telling some of my friends when he was coming out of Pittsburgh, he was getting punked by the U. He was getting punked. I remember when he was getting punked, but going up against players going against you. It was a third. It was what was it? It was a Thursday night game, and they were what did they do? It was a Thursday night. It was a Thursday night football game. Pittsburgh was playing the U, and Stark was just sitting there, just punking him. He was just getting all in him. So it was a surprise when he came out at Pitt and he's just dominating the league. And I'm just like, wow. That's just all it was. It was just like, wow. I can't. This guy who was getting punked by the U, everybody all over the U by the U. That secondary was just killing them. They had Sean Taylor back there. I'm trying to look at this right now. It wasn't Dwayne Starks. I know it wasn't Dwayne Starks. I know was it Dwayne Starks? Yeah, it was Dwayne Starks. Okay, I take that back. It was Dwayne Starks. I knew it was Dwayne Starks because Dwayne Starks was getting all in him. And then all of a sudden he turned around and then he's coming into the league and he's just dominating everybody. So and one thing is that like I was saying that like one thing that I've always said is that you definitely know about Larry Fitzgerald and his accolades from everything. Unstoppable receiver. You can stop one-on-one. He'll take you deep. He'll take over a game, especially in that 2009 playoffs, how he took over against Carolina, and then when they had that home game against Philadelphia, and he ate Philadelphia's secondary alive, and going into the Super Bowl when they were losing, and then all of a sudden, he decided to have an awakening, and then he started eating Pittsburgh's secondary alive. That's just it. I can just say that right there. We could go on about many games about him. Yeah, he's a certified Hall of Famer. Without being said that he's a Hall of Famer, so we can definitely go there. Now, here's another one that a lot of people don't ever talk about, but Indianapolis Colts, Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne, 2001 to 2008. They're both Hall of Famers. One Super Bowl appearance and they're champions. And in their years together, Marvin Harrison had 9,036 yards receiving, 81 touchdowns. Reggie Wayne had 8,129 yards receiving, 53 touchdowns. Peyton Manning had a field day. If you don't know, he had pretty much. Remember when college started doing the impact player thing, and then you could definitely see the blinking lights when the impact player was going when he's on, it just started blinking. If you did that with practically everybody on that Indianapolis Colts team, it was just flashing all over the screen. You had Marvin Harrison, you had Edgerrin James, Dallas Clark, a great offensive line, Reggie Wayne, Peyton Manning, and then let's say Edgerrin James left, then you had Joseph Adai. They had players on that offensive side. Peyton Manning, I just wonder, like, why do you nut up in the playoffs when you got these guys right here? How come you just disappear when you have guys like this? Are you that much afraid? Are you that much of a chump? So that's one thing that I honestly just look at that, because you have all these out there, and you have Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne, two of the best tandems out. They are one of the best duos out there. We can probably argue with them against the greatest show on turf, Torrey Holt and Marvin Harrison. Even though that this other tandem right there, that I'm just going to say, nah, they ain't going to get past them. But we can honestly put them up there because, again, they played so well together. With Reggie, with Marvin Harrison and Peyton Manning looking like those two just knew each other's every tendencies out there, and Reggie Wayne coming out there dominating from the U from jump. Yeah, we can actually say that. Then we're going to go with the San Francisco 49ers. Yeah, you know that they're going to be on here. Jerry Lee Rice and John Taylor, 1985 to 1995. One Hall of Famer, 3 Super Bowl appearances, all 3 champions. Now, John Taylor's numbers were 5,598 yards receiving and 43 touchdowns. Those 10 years together, and Jerry Rice was 15,060 yards receiving, 146 touchdowns. All right, so let me go ahead and start this off and say this. John Taylor was in an interview a couple weeks ago because he's going to be inducted into the 49er Hall of Fame. And in the interview, he said that, and this is known, John Taylor could have went anywhere and been the team's number 1, but he chose to stay alongside and play with Jerry Rice. John Taylor said, I don't care about numbers. The only thing I cared about were wins. So whatever my role was, that was my role. Now, arguably, everybody who knows football, knows the history, know the dominance of John Taylor. Receiving the ball, and you know how he is, with blocking as well. Same thing with Jerry Rice. You all know Jerry Rice is arguably, we could probably say he's arguably probably one of the greatest players of all time. You all can say, well, no, it could be Joe Montana. No, it could be Tom Brady. No, it could be Lawrence Taylor. We can have those debates. The thing is that with Jerry Rice, he wasn't just a receiver. He's also another good run blocker who again, these guys who can do it all. This is the reason why I always say numbers can be misleading, because all these guys that we can say with Torrey Holt, we could say with the great Sean Turf, we could say with Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne, you can even say with the Minnesota Vikings, with Randy Moss and Cris Carter. But the thing is that with John Taylor and Jerry Rice, they were complete. They weren't just out there just scoring touchdowns and breaking tackles and outrunning everybody. But they're also probably arguably one of the greatest blocking receiving combos of all time as well. So that's where I was, again, I say the numbers are misleading. That's why again yeah, maybe I'm a little biased because again I'm a Niner fan, but also I'm going to be a realist. You're not going to stop them. When Jerry Rice is on, he's on. John Taylor, he's on. He's breaking tackles. And it's something that John Taylor was okay to concede to Jerry. He didn't let his ego get the best of him to say, I'm better than you. That's the one thing, and I'm going to digress. That's the one thing where I think that where we're missing in sports right now, where a lot of people just want to say, I'm better than you, I want more money, and I want to go somewhere and I want to be the man, instead of looking at, I want to win. Which, in the same breath, you got to give as much as you can. Make how much as you can to do whatever you can. But the thing is that with John Taylor, he was okay with conceding. With somebody who was willing, who could have went anywhere else when his contract was up and been the man. But he's like, no, I'm staying here. We're winning. He retired. He retired as a 3-time champion. He was secluded. He didn't want the limelight. It's kind of hard to find him. I'm surprised that they found him and they interviewed him after they announced it. But that's the thing where that's the reason why, me personally, I'm going to say they're the greatest. And it's not. And this isn't just me saying as a Niner fan, but it's just my optics from what I saw. These other guys, like I said, with Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne, the greatest Sean Turf, Torrey Holt, Isaac Bruce. Oh yeah, pass catching. Oh, undeniably, we could outrank them there. But again, if I'm going all the way around, now Ron Smith and Ed McCaffrey, they were good. They were good run blockers as well. Don't get me wrong, they were excellent run blocking. And again, we can also say that Alvin Harper and Michael Irvin, that they were okay run blocking. They were okay because I've rarely ever seen highlights of them or any games of them when somebody's breaking or Emmitt Smith is getting and he breaks through there. Michael Irvin and Alvin Harper are running alongside him or trying to make sure everybody's out there. I don't see them there until at all. So we can arguably say that right there. Andre Reed and James Lofton, they were okay run blockers. But Jerry Rice and John Taylor, they weren't just catching the ball and lighting up secondaries and having defensive coordinators wondering, oh my God, how am I going to cover these guys? Jerry Rice is going to sit here and eat me up, and if I leave one-on-one with John Taylor, he's going to eat us up right here. How are we going to do this? It wasn't just that. It's also, man, we got to make sure that either if Roger Craig is going to sit here, if he breaks, one of these jokers are going to sit here, or if it's going to be Ricky Waters, Harry Sidney, Dexter Carter, Amp Lee, I don't know, whoever the running backs were around those times. Yeah, they're going to be blocking. They don't care if it's corners, linebackers, they're coming up the block. So this is my thing. Yeah, and I'm going to say that right now. That's my favorite. That's my favorite tandem of all time. So why don't you tell me what yours is? Who yours is? If it's not on this list, you can tell me yours. And I know some people are going to say why Stallworth and Lynn Swann. They're not on there. Pittsburgh Steelers wide receivers from the early 70s. And it's simple. I never watched them play. If I looked at their numbers and put them up there, I can just put their numbers up. But I never saw them play. I can give you the description of anything like that. And I don't want to go with just a highlight reel that I saw from NFL films for Steve Sable. I want to watch. I've never watched them play. So that's why they're not on the list. But again, why don't you tell me your list and tell me what you think. Maybe it'll be something different where you can go with it. So I'm just going to say this right now. I want to thank you all for watching another episode of the Sasha D. Robinson Sports Talk Show. It's been great. It's an honor. I want to say again, happy birthday, Mom. I appreciate everything that you've done for me. Your son is doing just fine. All of your boys are doing fine. Your grandchildren are doing fine. Your great-grandchildren are doing fine. Your brothers and sisters are doing fine. Everybody's doing fine, Mom. Thank you so much for everything. And hey, you already know the whole thing. I shouldn't have to remind everybody of everything. Like, share, subscribe. The whole lingo. Yeah, we all know this. We all know this. But again, thank you again for listening. Take me out, Gregory David.